This is a storyline that I've been hearing more and more about here in Seattle. American small business owners fight to survive crippling dine-and-dash crime sprees. A California restaurant owner is praising his staff for catching a repeat dine-and-dasher. What's going on with dine-and-dashing? Let's get into it. Here we go.
As a restaurant owner with a number of locations, I don't always get, deep into the minutia of the day-to-day operations as much as I'd like to. But, you walk through, the restaurant and you'll see a sign with a photo of someone with like receipts stapled to it. And it's like, oh, guess we have someone. But, you think we're never going to get them. They're never going to come back. And I was sitting at home one night having dinner. My laptop was next to me, but I had it closed up. And I get a phone call from one of our managers saying, oh my gosh, like the guy who has been, dining and dashing in our Campbell location as well as in our San Jose location. They're like, he's on the patio right now in Campbell. What should we do? And I'm like, hold on. Are you sure it's him? Do we have past videos of him? I know you might have a photo, but it's really hard to approach someone, just sitting there going, hey, I think you stole from us in the past. And so I said, don't do anything. But the server recognized him. The server had also worked in our San Jose location, and he ran out on her, a few weeks before. So he sat down and he asked to sit on the patio. It was a cold night. He was wearing a beanie and a hoodie, and he's like, I want to sit on the patio. And he was the only one out there. And I logged into our cameras and I saw him, and I'm like, all right, this looks a little bit suspicious, but again, still can't do anything. And that's when I, called the manager and I said, hey, how much has he ordered? And he said, well, he ordered a beer and a sushi roll, but he just ordered another beer and ramen. So now the tab is starting to go up in price. And I said, okay, when you bring him his second round of food, drop the check sooner than you normally would. Just drop the check and just say, hey, I need to leave soon. I'm going to just close you out. So I'm watching all of this go down. And as soon as he drops the check, you can see the guy like start looking around. And so I'm like, all right, I think this guy's going to run. And I said, when you drop the check, don't leave. Just kind of stand there. It's going to feel awkward. But don't drop the check and walk away, because that'll be an easy escape. So he ends up dropping the check, and our manager just stands there and he's waiting. And the guy's like, gets on his phone and he's acting like he's doing something. And then he says, where's your restroom? I need to use the restroom. And the minute he got up, I knew something was going to go down. So I called the non-emergency line of the Campbell police, told them what was potentially happening. And I didn't have all the camera angles, as you may have seen now on video. I just saw him get up and leave. And that's when I jump in my car to head down there. I call the police. They start getting in their patrol cars. And then I get a text message from the manager saying he ran out the front door. So we're searching around looking for him, and I see the police driving around town, and I'm driving around town. And I think the police gave up after 20 or 30 minutes, and I was about to. And I just said, let me do one last loop around the block. And so I did another loop, and I went on one of the main roads. And as I was heading home, I'm driving by looking at, if there was any people walking around, and I see some guy walking down the street, and he had the same shirt on, or it looked like it. So I made a U-turn and I drive by him again, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's him. And so I called the non-emergency line again, and I, same dispatch person. And I said, I found him. They're like, I found the guy, and here he is. And they said, what do you mean you found him? Were you following him? And I said, no, I was playing a police officer at that time. And within minutes, the Campbell police came up, and I got a video of them coming right up on the scene and basically detaining him, handcuffing him. And, he had a small warrant. So he had done other things as well.
Shocker. So that business owner was in a community where the police actually come. In so many of the big metropolitan markets where we are seeing the dine and dash, dining and dashing has been around forever, right? It's kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna game this person. I'm gonna eat my food and I'm gonna run out of here. I'm gonna save all that money on dinner. But so many of the communities where this is happening repeatedly, $100 bill, $200 bill for the food that you ate, that's not a big deal. It's a misdemeanor. So why wouldn't you do that on a regular basis if you knew if and when you get caught, which probably won't happen? We saw what the odds were there. If and when you get caught, you got a misdemeanor? I mean, yeah, we've taken criminal action and taken all the felonies, brought them down to misdemeanors. And then we wonder, why is dining and dashing going to the moon as far as a criminal activity? Well, because they can. A string of recent crimes targeting small businesses throughout the country have industry experts on high alert as owners warn the incidents could result in rising prices. Yeah, of course. I mean, inflation, everything else, rising prices, shutting down the economy during the pandemic. How about a little of that action? All these restaurants got shut down? Yeah. Instances of dining and dashing when an individual orders a meal at a restaurant and leaves without paying have become more high profile in recent months, with thieves becoming more brazen as they target small businesses across the U.S. Last month, a local California sushi restaurant chain became an unwilling target for a serial dine and dasher when a man stole approximately $1,000 worth of meals from multiple locations. If you're going to dine and dash, I would say maybe hit one store a couple of times and then move on, because you're going to probably get caught if you just increase those odds, all the time. I'm just going to keep going back. It's like going to McDonald's 45 times and then wondering, how did they catch me? I don't get it. What happened? Every little thing has a positive or negative effect on small business, so this definitely has an impact. The dining and dashing. Plus, it's just annoying for those servers and everybody else in the food chain who doesn't get paid either. So many of those people get tipped out. That's a big component. So when somebody takes off, I don't know what in the majority of these restaurants, but oftentimes if somebody dines and dashes, that gets taken out of the individual server's paycheck. I mean, talk about uncool. It's beyond your, control. Hey, let me chase this guy down on the sidewalk and then I'm going to tackle him because damn it, that guy owes $72.41. Musterer and his staff were on the lookout for a man who had reportedly walked out on the bill at two separate Sushi Confidential locations over the course of numerous visits. When the man returned to the restaurant's flagship location in Campbell, workers immediately recognized him as the alleged thief. And that's the story that we saw. Just some lowlife. He's going to eat his meal. He loves his restaurant and he's going to walk out. I mean, here's another. Yeah, here's another one. I've read this article a bunch of times. Seattle restaurant suffers 23rd break-in. Owner says he admits he has lost all faith in city leadership. So why is dining and dashing and why are break-ins at restaurants and stores and weed stores? Why is that happening in such frequency? Because there's no pushback from authorities. There's no pushback from the judicial system. It's like, well, why do we even bother arresting them if a judge isn't going to throw them in jail and instead gives them a diversion process of which they've been diverting for the last 10 criminal acts that they've been convicted of? Diversion. And then we wonder why justice reform just doesn't work. I don't get it. I don't understand. That's that misguided compassion, right? So you've got diners and dashers operating all over. Let's take a quick peek at this one, Chicago. Take a look at this news story.
Local restaurant owners are noticing more people skipping out on their bills lately.
Tia Ewing has the latest on the uptick.
Now you see them and now you don't. We've blurred the video because the trio hasn't been charged yet. But you can't miss that distinctive blue wig and the massive tab
blue wig
behind.
Wow, $262.
Table, they asked for the ticket to be split. She left from this table behind me to a few steps away, clicked the button. As she left, they got up one at a time and walked out.
3 days ago, the three women from Rochester, New York visited 𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧 in the Near North neighborhood to celebrate a birthday and left behind a surprise, an unpaid tab of over $200.
Mm-hmm.
They actually ran out the door and ran and hid behind a service vehicle that was in traffic.
They decided to dine and dash after devouring chicken wings, Alfredo, and washing it all down with flights of drinks.
It's not violent, but it's a crime, and it affects us, and it affects our bottom dollar, and it affects our team members.
They were spotted on surveillance, leaving one by one within 30 seconds of the server stepping away. They also forgot that they signed up on the wait list before being seated, including their name and phone number. And to add insult to injury, posted this onto social.
Thanks for the free food.
While laughing at waitstaff like
what idiots.
3 days a week.
Their greedy crime comes with a much heavier cost.
Some places do make the servers come out and pay for those bills, but Fab and 𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧 here, they don't make us pay for it. Well, that's really grateful because $300, $400 could really break our bank for that day.
Yeah.
Sadly, Dine-and-Dash incidents are on the rise. The owners run 2 𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧 locations and 3 I Can't Believe It's Not Meat restaurants. And in the last 6 months, they've seen an uptick in these type of incidents. These are just a few of the incidents they've recorded.
Ministry of pennies and nickels. So when you get these dine-and-dash incidences, you know what I mean? The consumer or the people that are doing this dine-and-dash might think, oh, it's just $100. Yeah, but it's hurting the bottom line.
Now, a police report was made. Chicago police are now investigating. If charged, the suspects could face a Class A misdemeanor for theft of services under the amount of $500. That's punishable by up to 1 year in jail and a $2,500 fine.
There is no judge in Chicago, in Illinois and Chicago area, that is going to give somebody the maximum for stealing from a restaurant. You can shoot people all day long and not get that, right? All right, diversion. Why don't you try and not shoot somebody for the next 5 years, and we'll go down that path, right? Dine-and-Dash, New York Department looking for suspect in theft at Pizza Hut. New York Police Department is investigating a Friday evening theft at a local Pizza Hut. Between 5 p.m. and 6:30 p.m., a male and female entered the Pizza Hut near West Elm and South Lincoln Avenue and ordered food. During service, they both left the restaurant without paying for their meal. Dine-and-Dash, classic Dine-and-Dash. Police Department is asking for the public to help identifying the male in the picture. The female is not pictured. Let's go back to the original article. Incidents involving dining and dashing have drawn widespread attention as offenders are repeatedly stealing from the same location or posting about their crimes online. Yeah, I had a really good burrito today. I had a great beer, and I got up and I walked away, and I just dined and dashed. And here's a little video of what my meal looked like that I didn't have to pay for, that I'm going to post on the interweb. I mean, people are just so dumb, right? But also, what I want you to take away from this is how flagrant these folks are. They don't give a rat's ass because ultimately they know nothing is really going to happen to them. If you've got people running around with swords, living in tents, selling drugs, doing the whole homeless thing, if you've got people like that throughout your community doing just whacked out nut job things, somebody that's dining and dashing is really on the low totem pole of priority for the police to go after. Was there a serious crime committed? No, he dined and dashed $200. Okay. Was anybody hurt? Was anybody injured? Was anybody physically impacted? No, and no. All right. So it was a financial crime, couple $100. I mean, the cops in these areas, in these cities where this is happening predominantly, you've defunded the police. You went down that whole road, even if you didn't technically defund the police. You don't think much about the police. So these dine and dashers, they have no qualms about going in and doing what they're doing, right? I mean, just no qualms. That's something I've never really thought about. Hey, what if I just left? You pay, right? It's the honor commitment. I committed to come in here, eat some food, and then pay you for said food. That's kind of the understanding. That's the obligation. But in a big blue Democrat-run city, you don't have to go by any of those commitments. You just do whatever the F you want, and then businesses take it on the chin, and the police go, oh, yeah, we're doing the best we can. And bottom line is they have to prioritize because they don't have enough manpower to get to all this stuff. And the diners and dashers, the criminals, they know what's up. They know that their odds are very, very slim. Look at how much effort that first guy put in, the guy with the sushi restaurants. Look at how much effort he put in to find this one dude that he just happened to stumble on. There he is. All right, let's go get him. Let's go get Freddie. We've got to bring Freddie in. I mean, also, I would say, you come in with your hat, it's really cold, and yeah, I think I want to eat outside. I want a little fresh air today, just a little fresh air. That's just, you know what I mean? It's just like, what are we doing? But this is something that I see in Seattle. I see news articles about this fairly often, and it's because people know that in a city where criminals run the town, where you've got, prostitution going on 24/7. And what do we do for the most part? World's oldest profession. That's what we're doing. And you got a bunch of open air drug markets where you've got fentanyl being sold, stolen goods, purchasing stolen goods, all of that going on. When you've got that relative to somebody walking out on a restaurant bill, you know what I mean? So who's it impact? It impacts the restaurants. It impacts the small businesses because they've literally been hanging on, right? Got through the pandemic, got a little PPP money. And then you've got restaurant workers, and these entities are hanging on by a thread because their margins are so small. And like they said, you take a couple $100 bills out of that equation, that's a big chunk of profit for a lot of these restaurants. So it does have a big impact, but it's not the kind of impact where somebody chases you down typically and you go to jail for it, right? Just not doing that. They're just not doing that. And the group where they posted it on, Instagram, I think they posted it on. I mean, those don't exactly seem like they are regular criminals. They are criminals of opportunity, meaning they know they're going to have a nice meal. They're going to walk out and probably nothing is going to happen to them, to the point where they risk putting it up on social media. And then also they're dumb criminals, right? At this point in time, because they've forgotten they made a reservation and it tagged their name. That's just flat stupid. That is dumb, dumb, dumb. But location where most of this stuff is going on, where it happens repeatedly over and over and over, those are areas where their policy on crime is not strong. You don't go to jail. You do not see a ton of this kind of stuff in Oklahoma City. I go there and visit my parents, and you don't see a lot of this because you would have the cops coming to you. They would be on it, right? That's the kind of thing that they're on. Whereas in the big blue liberal cities, just like, a lot of crime here, man. It's just what we're doing. So don't worry about it. Financial crime isn't a real crime. Whatever those nut jobs say, whatever the protesters say. I know they've got a bunch of sayings about that. And it's just, it's like mentally handicapped listening to those people, right? Keep a lookout for Dine-and-Dash stories. Send them to me because I think there's a lot more of this going on. I have to ask my buddy that owns a couple of bars how often he gets dine-and-dashed. Because that almost sounded kind of like an S&M thing, didn't it? I'd like to dine and dash you. Anyway, thanks for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next episode. Bye for now.